You need to just get really good negotiation skills, and you need to reach out to as many dealers as possible. And if you do this, that's going to get you the best deal. And in the past, it got you a pretty good deal, but it would never get you the best deal. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to properly negotiate in today's market, since it has been really crazy with new car sales and with used car sales as well. But I do want to give myself a subtle plug before we start off today's video. I did recently start a Patreon, and I am going to be rolling out kind of a new benefit. So if you are in the market for a car, or you're currently talking to a dealership about a car and you want some friendly advice from me, I will be talking one-on-one with the Patreon supporters that do ask for that. There is a messaging app through Patreon that you can use. And so again, if you do want that, then go support the channel on Patreon, and I'll be more than happy to help out. But let's get straight into the video. I'm not going to give the history because I did just give that in my last video. So if you haven't seen my last video where I talk about how to drive a car for free, go watch that video so you can understand why the market has become what it has. And then after you watch that video, then this video will make a whole lot more sense. But let's actually talk about how you can negotiate with the current market and just my tips overall. And a lot of these are actually tips I've given in the past. They still apply, but I think it is worth reiterating. Now, first off, I know this is not going to be quite a popular opinion based on what a bunch of car buying advice is online. And that is the fact that you need to try to purchase all of your cars from one dealership. And I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, this actually helps you get a better deal with the vehicle. So the advice that I hear all the time is you need to go and you need to shop multiple dealers online. You need to just send them in offers, all that kind of stuff. And once you have sent all these offers into multiple dealers, then the dealer that comes with the lowest price is the one that you go with. And again, that's the advice I see online all the time. However, if you want to get really good deals on cars, that's just not going to be the way to go about it, because guess what? That's what these dealerships get to deal with every single day. And from a dealership perspective, you're that customer. You're the annoying customer that just wants their best price, that isn't emotional at all about the purchase, and it isn't really an exciting experience for the dealer, because what the dealership does is, yes, they do shoot out a low price to you, but they're not necessarily going to bend over backwards for you, because you're just, again, that person. And they have so many people that do that to them every single day. I worked at a dealership for 3 years. Most of the online inquiries that came in were from people that were, what's your best price? And that's all I would ever hear. And for those customers, right, you send them out a low price, but again, you're not going to bend over backwards for that type of customer. I know, again, it's not necessarily the most popular opinion to just go and buy all your cars from the same dealership, because people are like, oh, well, that dealership's going to take advantage of you, this and that. And as I explain things throughout today's video, you'll kind of understand why that's not the case. And then the other kickback I know that people will say is, well, what if I don't want to buy the same brand all the time? And I completely understand that. Let's say that you want to drive a different truck every time you get a new truck. You don't want to drive a truck from the same manufacturer. Try to find a group of dealerships that's owned by the same person that sells all those manufacturers. So like, let's say that you want to drive just Ford and Ram trucks. That's all you want to drive, but you want to switch between the two brands. Again, try to find someone who owns a Ram store and a Ford store. Trust me, it'll come and play later. The first thing that you need to do is preferably stick with a dealership that is local. Now, I understand that some people just can't buy locally because the dealerships that are in their area just have prices through the ceiling and they don't negotiate, all that kind of stuff. If that's the case, your dealership won't work with you whatsoever. I understand if you can't stay locally, but I would recommend to try to stay locally initially. And if that doesn't work, again, I understand if you can't. But if you can stay locally, there's a bunch of benefits to staying with a local dealership. And the first one has to do with servicing. So if you buy from a dealership that's close by, chances are you're also going to service your vehicle at that dealership. And that actually helps build your relationship with this dealership, which in turn helps you get better deals on cars. Because let's say that you go and you buy a new vehicle. Let's just say, I'm just going to say a random brand. Let's just say that you go and buy a new Ram from a Ram dealership that's close by to you. And then every single time you need any sort of aftermarket accessories, you need any sort of servicing, anything on the truck, you take it into that Ram store. then that store is going to know this is a really good customer, because not only did this person buy this vehicle from us, but they're doing all their servicing with us. So you're not only making them money on the sales side, you're also making them money on the service side. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're paying a massive amount for. There's all sorts of deals that you can get on servicing, especially if you plan on doing it long term, where the dealership will give you a large discount on the servicing of the vehicle. And a lot of car manufacturers will give you free servicing on vehicles for the first few years. Not every car manufacturer, but a lot of them. And this all helps out the dealership, because every single time that you bring that vehicle in for servicing, the dealership's making money. Whether you're paying for it or the manufacturer's paying for it, it doesn't really matter. It's just as long as you're bringing the vehicle. Even warranty claims. A lot of people think that, oh, the dealership's going to hate me if I bring in my vehicle for a warranty claim. Dealerships actually love warranty claims, because that is the manufacturer paying them money to go and fix your car. And again, they're getting paid, so that's all they care about. So that's why you want to try to buy locally, is because you want to service at the same dealership that you are buying the car at. So let's say at this point you've found your dealership that you're going to buy from and hopefully service with as well. And so you're kind of building a relationship from that standpoint. What you now want to do as a customer, obviously, is make sure that you have a salesperson that you are going to stick with. And obviously, you don't know how long that salesperson is going to work at a dealership, but typically if a salesperson's been working at a dealership for a longer duration, they're most likely going to stay there. There's no guarantee on that. A salesperson that is working there for their first month could be the person that's going to be there for the next 20 years. And a salesperson that's been there for 20 years could be a few years out from retirement. You just don't know. But you want to at least have that conversation with them and explain that you're someone who's going to want to buy multiple vehicles, and you're going to want to get good deals on these cars. And so you're going to want to work with someone that's going to stick around so that you can build your relationship with that salesperson. Now, since this is all about building a relationship with this dealership so you can get better deals on cars, you need to make sure that that relationship is positive. So you need to be the calm, cool, collected customer. When things go wrong, don't freak out about them. Don't be that person, right? Don't be the Karen that runs in and is asking for the manager right away and is going to give the dealership a bad review if they don't fix this and that, right? You need to be the person that is almost too agreeable, right? Like if you order a car from a dealership and there's a huge scratch down the side of it, don't freak out and act like it's the end of the world. Be completely okay with it. Understand the dealership's going to fix it, and just have that conversation. Say, okay, what are we going to do from here? And if you're that person, then the dealership is going to respect you so much more as a customer, because they're going to understand, okay, this is a cool person. This is a person that's not going to freak out. That's not going to give me a bad review. This is someone who is actually going to be good for my store long-term as a customer, because as much as they are selling you a car, you are selling yourself to the dealership. And speaking of surveys, you need to make sure that you always give the dealership a good survey. Even if things go south, you need to make sure you still give them a good survey. Because guess what? If you hold surveys hostage, if you give them a bad survey, you just ruined that relationship. Because a lot of the times, surveys are, not a lot of times, all the time, these surveys are very closely attached to that dealership's ability to do business. And sometimes they get charged money if they get bad surveys. And so you need to make sure that you always give them a good survey, because you're not giving them any reason to see you negatively as a customer. Now, the next thing that you need to do as a customer, aside from building a relationship with everyone at the dealership, making sure you always give them positive surveys, making sure that you keep a cool, calm, collected head when things go wrong, is you need to try to get other people to purchase from that dealership. If you refer people to that dealership and there are people that are, maybe they don't even necessarily buy cars, but they're at least looking at cars at that dealership, then you're helping out that business. And again, they're going to kind of see you as a higher priority, and they're going to be like, okay, this is a person that actually cares. So if you ever have any friends that are like, hey, I'm looking to buy a car, then just, it's as simple as, hey, I know a guy, and just give them to your salesperson at that dealership. And that'll also help out with building the relationship with this dealership, which will in turn help you get better deals on cars. Now, the next piece of probably unpopular advice is the fact that you might have to pay a little bit more money for the first car that you buy from this dealership, but subsequent purchases, you might actually be able to get a little bit of a better deal if you've done everything right up to this point. And when I say a little bit extra money, maybe you could have gotten like $500 less at another dealership, but again, you chose this one because it's locally, because you can do all this stuff with it very easily. And so again, the first vehicle you purchase, you might pay just a little bit more for it, but that's okay, because again, this is supposed to be this long-term relationship where you're going to be getting good deals on cars. The next thing you need to do is you need to let the dealership know what type of buyer you are. And when I say what type of buyer you are, you need to let them know what type of cars you plan on purchasing and the time frame you plan on purchasing them in. And you need to be completely transparent with yourself so that you can be transparent with the dealership. If you go and tell the dealership, I'm gonna buy a car every 3 months, and then you don't, that's gonna look bad. But if you tell a dealership, you know what, I'm probably gonna buy a car every 2 years, and then you end up buying one every single year, that's not gonna be an issue. It's just an issue if you give them a shorter time frame and then you end up not doing that shorter time frame. So just let them know the time frame at which you will be purchasing cars. And again, you need to be honest with yourself. How often do you actually trade cars? Because a lot of people think they're gonna keep a vehicle for a lot longer than they are. I had it happen so many times when I was a car salesman. I'd have people come in and they'd say, I'm buying this truck and this is the last truck I'm ever buying. And then 2 years later, okay, this is the last truck I'm ever buying. And then obviously I didn't stay at the dealership for a crazy long period of time. I was only there for 3 years, but then I would get text messages from my friends that still work at the dealership. Oh, hey, so-and-so came in and bought a car. And it's like, so-and-so that told me 4 years ago that they were gonna buy this truck and this was gonna be the last truck they ever bought. And since then they've bought 2 more trucks, right? Just be honest with yourself and let the dealership know so that they can properly take care of you from a customer perspective. So then they know, okay, this person is going to be a guaranteed deal for the dealership every 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 4 years, whatever your buying increment is, just let the dealership know and let them know that you are going to be a guaranteed customer. Now, up to this point, again, you've built your relationship with the dealership and with all the staff that work at the dealership. You service your vehicle at that dealership and you make sure that you always give them good surveys whenever they send surveys out to you, and even offer, say, hey, are you guys able to send me a survey for anything? I'd really appreciate it. And again, you give them a good survey on every single platform that they send out to you. And after that, you've also given them your buying time frame for vehicles. And then at this point, you can have the candid conversation with them and go, hey, obviously, I've done everything I can as a customer to help support your business. I've sent people to you. I've given you good surveys. I've serviced my vehicle with you. I bought this vehicle from you when I could have bought it from another dealership for a little bit less money. What can you do for me? And again, at this point, since you've built a relationship with the salesperson, with the staff, and with everyone, you can have this conversation with them and they're going to take you seriously because you've been such a good customer for the dealership. And once you've had this conversation with them, then the dealership, again, this is where they're really going to bend over backwards for you, because maybe you want to have some special edition car. You'll actually be able to get an allocation because you've been a good customer. Or maybe you want to get a car for a much bigger discount than you normally would be able to get. You probably be able to get that because, again, the dealership knows, okay, maybe we aren't going to make money on the car purchase itself with this person, but they're going to service the car with us, so we'll make money there. This person's going to give us good surveys, so then it's going to look good to other customers, so then we'll get more customers to sell more cars. And then this person also referred customers to us, so even though we aren't necessarily going to be making money on this specific transaction, we might make money on all the other transactions associated with that person. And so that's kind of the best way to go about things and how you're going to be able to get the best deal on a car, because then a dealership can actually make business sense out of it. And so they're actually going to be able to give you a bigger discount on a vehicle. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for them if you're just someone who comes out of the woods and you're like, give me your best price. Why would they ever give you their best price if they don't know you, if they don't know you're going to take care of them? But if you have done all these things that I've said that you should do, then they know you're going to take care of them. And so then they actually have a reason to give you a good deal. Again, I understand that this is not going to be super popular advice, because the popular advice is you need to just get really good negotiation skills, and you need to reach out to as many dealers as possible. And if you do this, that's going to get you the best deal. And in the past, it got you a pretty good deal, but it would never get you the best deal. The best deal that you're going to get with any sort of business transaction is through friendship. That's just how things are. That's how I've always done things personally. And that's how I've been able to get such good deals on vehicles as I've purchased them for the channel. And that's why I'm sharing this with you guys, is if you go about things in this friendly way and you actually take care of the dealership, then again, you'll get a much better value, and you'll just get a much better buying experience as well as a customer, because it's going to be this positive friendship back and forth rather than this crazy negative negotiation, car sales stuff that nobody really wants to deal with. And I guess the biggest thing that I'm going to say of why this advice makes more sense than any other advice in the current market is right now with supply and demand, there are more customers than there are cars. And so you need to give a dealership a reason as to why they should give up other customers over you. Because again, right now, there are more customers than there are cars. I mean, again, the truck that I'm sitting in is a perfect example of this. I got this truck for MSRP, and so if it was a typical new vehicle, then it should be depreciating, and I shouldn't be able to sell this for anything close to what I paid for it. But right now, this truck at auction is bringing in $110,000 to $120,000, and I could go retail it for that much, if not more. And so what that tells you again is there are less cars than there are customers. So unless you have that relationship built with a dealership, they're not going to have any reason to give you a special deal on a vehicle, because in the current market, you are replaceable. A few years ago, that wasn't the case. There were more cars than there were customers, but right now, as a customer, you're replaceable. The cars aren't. I know it sounds crazy because it's a piece of metal and you're a human being, but that's just how the market is with supply and demand. Hopefully, the market calms down over the next few years. I think it will once part supplies increase and all that kind of stuff. But as things stand right now, that's just how it goes. And so you just need to do that. And I still, even once this ends, I still would do that. I still would build a relationship, because once car values go down and everything, it'll actually be even easier to find a special deal. And yeah, if you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe. Again, if you want some help with car buying, then go support me through Patreon, and then we can message back and forth, all that kind of stuff. And I'll see all of you in the next video.